Hello, one, and hello, all. Say that. We've got two people so far. Impromptu stream. Usually I give a couple of hours in advance, but I couldn't be asked for that today. So I figured we'd just jump straight on and talk anything boxing. Let me get some headlines up, see what I can find. Boxing scene. And everybody's favorite boxing news 24. Got four people. Who have we got? Any Gonna give it a couple minutes before we really get going. In case you're coming through, today is just we're just hanging out. Let's call it a boxing a boxing chat. We're gonna cover some boxing news and anything you guys want to talk about. Because why not? Of course, because why not? Just bear with me, folks. I'm just doing some things behind the scenes. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. What should we talk about? Of course, we got the big news today about Tyson Fury. It's announced that he's fighting Derek Chisora for a third time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Of course, I did a video about this already, because it was one of the worst kept secrets. Um, so we can cover that because we now know that it's going to be pay-per-view. So yeah, talk about rubbing salt in the wound. TMT, tired after a long day at work. Yeah, yeah, it's getting on a bit. So TMT, hope you had a good day at work first and foremost, and you can unwind to the relaxing sound of my voice. So but good to have you here as always. MJ, MJ who? Thank you for the good vibes. Matthew, how many tickets does it do? I'm assuming you're talking about Tyson Fury versus Chisora 3. I can't imagine it does that many. I would be surprised. I would be surprised if it even comes remotely close to selling out Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, because that is a 70,000 seater, I believe. So I think it's for boxing events, it's 70,000. Let me just double check, because obviously when you have a football stadium, if it's for a boxing event, if it's being used for a boxing event, then they can usually cram a few more seats in there because obviously the seats go onto the pitch. But it's basically 70,000. Yeah, because the capacity for football is 62. So yeah, 70,000 for boxing. I don't think it comes close to that, to be honest. Maybe I'm underestimating the selling power of Fury and Chisora as individuals, and coming together, you have to imagine probably combine something. But a lot of people can see through this fight. I haven't seen anyone who's happy with this fight. You know, I've seen ardent Fury fanboys openly admit that they don't see Fury in the same light following the announcement of this fight. And obviously, they're not the most objective people anyway, but even it just goes to show that even they aren't happy with this fight. Um, so, yeah, does it sell out? No, I'd be very surprised if it did. Does it come close? I don't know. I doubt it, unless the undercard is absolutely stacked, which I think is unlikely because they've already announced that Dubois is fighting this Lorena character who I've never heard of before. Dubois is somewhat of a name, but how much more is Dubois going to add to the selling power of this fight? I don't think it's going to be that much. So, what's the likelihood that this undercard is going to be stacked? I think it's unlikely. So, um, yeah, I don't think this fight does many tickets. And don't be surprised if, off the back of this fight tanking, which I think is a very real possibility, that the fight gets pulled. I don't think that would be beyond the realms of possibility. TMT, hard day but good day. That's it. That's what we like. You know, no easy days and no days off. Devon Sinclair, yes, brothers, good to have you here. Talk about the highly anticipated trilogy between the GOAT Tyson Fury against the mighty Derek Chisora. Oh yeah, that's it's depressing when you think about it. I reckon Fury and Chisora are on the phone right now discussing how to hype this fight. They are probably going to go hardcore in the promotion for it. Well, yeah, I don't know if you guys saw the press conference, the announcement today. They You could see that neither of them are particularly up for the fight, but they were trying their best to try and muster up some energy to really sell it. And that was just my interpretation of it. I could just sense that neither of them are particularly enthused about this fight because, yeah, Chisora's getting a load of money and a title shot, excuse me. But he's already been beaten by Fury before, twice, very handily. So you can't. How up for the fight is Chisora going to be? Because yeah, he's someone who usually he gives a good effort in a lot of his fights, but that's usually when he's going in against someone who he's unfamiliar with in terms of he believes he can beat them. How much of Derek Chisora does, or how Does Derek Chisora really believe he can beat Tyson Fury? I'm guessing that he probably doesn't. And then you have Tyson Fury, who he's beaten Chisora before. How up can he be for the fight? So yeah, I agree. They're probably trying to bounce ideas off each other and how they can big this fight up. But I don't think you can. I don't think you can. I don't think there's any USP, no unique selling point for this fight. It's a poor fight. Absolutely is. Mike, evening, my man. Take it we're all here on the same page with Fury, trash fight. At least later that night we have Gonzalez Estrada. Well, firstly, Mike, it's good to have you here, my friend. I hope you can stick with us for a bit and talk boxing. Yeah, as I said a couple of moments ago, I'm yet to see someone who's happy with this fight. Now, I did a video on this fight a couple of days ago, and some people took exception to me saying that I was in the middle with this fight because I'm not completely going out of my way to slate it. And these people, they weren't disrespectful. They were just, well, some of them were a bit snarky, but um, for the most part, they just couldn't understand why I wasn't like trashing the fight completely. And it's because I said, and I specifically outlined the caveat in my video that this fight hinges on whether the Usyk fight happens in early 2023. Because yes, I 100% wholeheartedly agree that this is a poor fight. It is absolute garbage. And the fact that it's on pay-per-view is just even more of a smack in the face. But if we get to a stage in a couple of months' time or a few months' time where the Alexander Usyk fight against Tyson Fury is all systems go, we can at least look back in retrospect and say, okay, there was this gimme fight that Fury had against Chisora, but it went straight into the Alexander Usyk fight. And now certain people, or some people rather, like Hatman, they would only accept it if the Alexander Usyk fight was locked in, like contractually. And I get that 100%. I'm willing to just be a bit more patient and see how things go. But that doesn't mean that I'm happy with this fight. Absolutely not. Because as I said in the video, it could have been much worse because I'd much rather see Chisora in the ring than Manuel Charr. But even that being said, there are many fighters who are more deserving than Derek Chisora of getting this fight. And they could realistically be in the ring. I think the prime example is Michael Hunter, who was training to fight a Fury anyway. He's training to fight Hughie Fury, so he's in training, and there's a bit of a storyline where he was training to beat Tyson's cousin. Why not put him in the ring? Yeah, he's not that big a name, so maybe they wouldn't be able to do Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Maybe they could go to a smaller stadium, maybe the Manchester Arena, something like that. Because Michael Hunter, he's coming off a bit of a controversial, controversial fight where many people felt that he lost against Jerry Forrest. That fight was a draw, though, right? Yeah, I'm sure it was a draw. And but he's somewhat of a name, you know. He's fought Povetkin, fought Bacoli. He's someone who's flying under the radar a little bit. But I think this really speaks volumes where nobody's really happy about this fight, but it's nothing that new in terms of, I mean, there have been fighters of the past who've done this. Like, for example, Joshua. Joshua fought Eric Molina before fighting Vladimir Klitschko. Now, granted, the Joshua Molina undercard was pretty stacked. You know, that was a decent undercard. It had White versus Chisora 1 on there, which was a brilliant heavyweight fight. Who else? There were a bunch of title fights. Callum Smith was on there against was that Luke Blackledge, and he sparked him out with that left hook. Hosea Burton versus Frank Buglioni, that was a good fight. I'm pretty sure that was on there. And a bunch of other fights as well. So that was a good one, and we knew that the Klitschko fight was coming afterwards, so it was a bit more acceptable. Um, the same year as that, we had Ward versus Alexander Brand. Nobody knew Brand. Brand was probably not a journeyman. He didn't have a journeyman record, but he was little more than a gatekeeper, and even that's being generous. But we knew that Ward was going to go on to fight Kovalev in November of that year. So these things they're not new. But yeah, a poor fight, poor fight. TMT, Fury Chisora, very mediocre, even for a tune-up. What can we say about it? Yeah, exactly. There's not really that much to speak about. I guess you could kind of speculate, okay, well, what if Fury gets cut? What if he suffers an injury? Um, how would that affect his chances going in against Usyk? So there is that, but I wouldn't hold my breath that anything like that happens because he's been in with the ring. Yeah, he's been in the ring with Chisora. And I know they're trying to say, oh, but our styles are different. Um, like, nah. Fury beats Derek Chisora even more convincingly than he has done before. I wouldn't be surprised if Fury actually deals with Chisora in a similar fashion to how he did with Dylan White, where we may see like a brutal one-punch KO. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Mr. Gala. Mr. Gala in the house. Isn't this the first live stream you've made it to? So, yeah, better late than never, I suppose. Meth fight, but I'll take it over something pathetic like Zhang. But that's the thing. Zhang, he doesn't look like any great shakes, but you have to imagine that even right now, he would be better than Derek Chisora. Just from the by virtue of the fact that he's fresher. He's got a little bit more momentum. Because Chisora is washed up. He is so washed, it's just unreal. And there's familiarity there. Whereas at least Zhang, he's bigger, he's fresher. I think he's actually older than Chisora, but there's unfamiliarity. How would Fury deal with a massive 6'6" southpaw? I mean, people say, "Oh, but Fury beat Pianetta." I don't think Pianetta and Zhang can be mentioned in the same sentence. Not that Zhang's any heir to the heavyweight throne, but he's better than Pianetta. But don't start on Dubois. Hey, look, Dubois is doing his thing, but Dubois, actually, that's a good point because I haven't really spoken about Dubois that much. But I think I'm the only person, or one of the few people, who really doesn't rate Dubois. I just don't see what there is to like that's so special. I was extremely confident in picking picking Joyce against Dubois. For every time that fight was rescheduled, I was still confident Joyce is going to beat him. Joyce is going to beat him. Dubois is just, I get it. He's big. He's got fairly good balance, but he's just so basic and so robotic. You know, people used to compare Joshua to Frank Bruno, and some people still do. But no, Joshua and Frank Bruno are like night and day in comparison to Dubois and Frank Bruno. It's just, yeah. I mean, look, Dubois is doing his thing. He's got his WBA trinket, but I'm not sure how high ceiling is right now. But to be fair, Dubois versus Dylan White, that's a shout. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dubois could beat White at this point because White his chin looks so brittle. But that would have been a good fight. Speaking of White, he's fighting Jermaine Franklin. What do we think of that? Are you familiar with Franklin? I've only seen a few clips of him, but yeah, if you've seen Franklin, what do you think? TMT, Chisora is turning 40 and not Klitschko 40, more like shot to, yeah. Yeah, exactly. He's not a well-preserved 40. He is, you know, Chisora is one of those guys now where I wince when I see him fight because I just wonder what is the state of his brain? Surely by this point, all the the punishment that he's taken, not just over the course of his career, but in the past couple of years. Chisora's brain must be sloshing around in his skull like strawberry milkshake at this point. Devon, I would have preferred Fury versus Vlad since he's doing rematches. Even an old Vlad would give Fury a much better fight than Chisora. Plus, Fury owes Vlad a rematch. I'm not sure if I agree. Does Fury owe Vlad a rematch? I mean, I'd be willing to entertain that. Maybe yes at this point. Vladimir Klitschko, even though he hasn't fought in 5 years, might be a bit more competitive than Derek Chisora, maybe. But I'm not sure if. What do you mean by Fury owes Vlad a rematch? Because I'm not sure if I agree about that. Agree with that. Chris V, hello. Good to have you here, my friend. Fury's no different than Charles Martin when it comes to credibility as a champion. I only watch Fury's fights with Wilder, but this just assures me not bother watching him. No, I think Charles Martin was always someone who, yeah, he lacked credibility. And if you look at Charles Martin's career, he's actually gained more credibility since losing to Joshua because he had a little hiatus, came back, didn't necessarily capture any victories, but he looked decent. He looked like, okay, this is a serviceable heavyweight. Fury, he didn't win his titles against Klitschko on a technicality. He thoroughly outboxed Klitschko, who, Klitschko has his shortcomings like every fighter does, but he was a legendary heavyweight with some very formidable weapons and talents and skills. I get the idea though, like with Fury, he really does test people's patience because firstly, he just talks so much and he talks so much rubbish at times. But when Fury is in the ring and even when he's not firing on all cylinders, because you could look at the Wilder first fight and the Wilder trilogy, the third fight, Fury was not at his best. Far from it, actually. But he's still a very effective, very talented fighter. Now, I'm not one of these people who think that Fury is just going to retire undefeated, assuming that he actually takes on the best available competition. I don't think that's the case. I think there are guys who can beat Tyson Fury. For the longest time, I've actually said that I am fairly confident that Joshua on his day has a good chance of beating Fury. Obviously, Joshua is going through his rehabilitation stage right now. But yeah, Fury is certainly not invincible, but he is credible. He is a good, credible heavyweight. And if people have him as number one right now, alongside Usyk or slightly ahead of Usyk, I don't have an issue. Personally, I'd have Usyk. I don't know, actually. Never really thought about it. But definitely Fury and Usyk. Maybe joint first. Because Usyk has 2 wins over Joshua, who Joshua is certainly more proven than Wilder. Fury has 2, arguably 3 wins over Wilder, plus Dillian Whyte, plus Vladimir Klitschko. But then you see Joshua beat both Klitschko and Whyte. So it's what you like, I suppose. But they're definitely top 2. Devon Sinclair, I reckon Fury is just looking for easy knockouts. Since he KO'd Wilder and Whyte, people think he's some kind of KO artist. Took him 11 rounds where he hit Wilder with a million punches to KO him. Maybe. I think Fury is a puncher, but he's just not as consistent. If that makes sense. Because maybe the Dillian Whyte knockout flattered him a bit because Whyte's punch resistance really is quite shot. Deontay Wilder is deceptively tough. I think Deontay Wilder, not only does he have a decent chin, but he's got a massive heart as well. And as long as he has energy, even just an ounce of energy, he's going to carry on. But yeah, maybe it's all part of the rebranding of Tyson Fury because the way Fury boxed against Vladimir Klitschko, would he be able to fight like that? And would he be able to have fights like that on on BT box office and be a draw. I don't think he would, because we saw against Anthony Joshua, who for the most part is much more exciting than Tyson Fury, or at least for the majority of his career he was. Even when Joshua started to box in even remotely conservatively, his ratings, not to say they took a hit, but they definitely, people started to get turned off a little bit. So yeah, maybe it is part of the Fury KO artist rebranding. But that being said, I still think Fury, he's a big man. You don't want to get hit by him, especially if your punch resistance is suspect. Plus, White is washed up and his chin is gone. Yeah, I agree. Same with Chisora. I agree as well. This is just a fight to make Fury look good and a paycheck between two friends. Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I think, for a long time, Chisora and Fury have been quite pally. They've been good chums. So what's the likelihood that they're just kind of more so Fury, he just wants to give his old mate Del Boy a crack at the title before he retires and a few million, something like that. I think that's likely the case. TMT, yeah, I accept this as a tune-up, but there was so much lack of excitement for his Chisora trilogy, at least fight someone new. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. As a tune-up, I get it. Is it good? No, but I get it. But yeah, there are many fighters who would be available for December the 3rd, and they're more credible at this point. They're potentially more competitive. Like I mentioned Michael Hunter. If in some bizarre world where we actually get good fights on a regular basis, if Tyson Fury versus Michael Hunter was made and that fight went ahead, but Fury still dealt with Michael Hunter easily, I don't have a problem with that, because the whole point of fights being made is that two guys get in the ring, they fight each other, and you find out who's better. And if it's a one-sided blowout, so be it. It's boxing, that's what happens. But when you have these fights that get made and you can see the result from a mile away, that's when it gets annoying. And when you have promoters like Frank Warren and Bob Arum trying to sell them, I don't even think the promoters can get up for this, because they know it's a walk in the park. And Frank Warren did his best to justify it. And it's like, come on, Frank, pull the other one. But yeah, as I say, and as I'll continue to reiterate, for me, by my standards, it hinges on whether that Usyk fight happens in 2023. Mike asks, what are my thoughts on Usyk not wanting the fight until 2023? Personally, I'm willing to give him a pass because of the year he has had. Plus, I want to see the absolute best Fury, Usyk versus against Fury. Yeah, exactly. I'm in the same boat as you, because it was a bit of an eyebrow raiser at first, but I guess when you take into consideration the context of who Usyk is, what he's done, this is not someone who has sat on his hands and just waited for things to happen around him and then he just waits for his opportunity. No, this is a guy who had a handful of fights, won a cruiserweight title in the Glowacki's backyard in Poland. From then on, really set the tone. He set the tone for how boxers should be, how they should conduct themselves, because there was never any faffing around. No, oh, I'm the A side because I've done this, and I want this term, I want that term. He was like, you know what? I've got my title shot. Okay, I'm a champion. I'll defend it. I'll unify. I'll enter into the World Boxing Super Series, fight all of my opponents in their backyards, deal with them, collect all the belts, move up to heavyweight. Yeah, a little bit of a delay because of injuries and opponents dropping out, but that stuff happens. I don't think you can hold that stuff against Usyk. He trains, he's an elite level heavyweight, and he has been an elite level fighter for decade or a decade and a half, I don't know, something like that, a long time. So he's going to get injuries. He can't help that. He can't help his opponents falling through, because, of course, he was supposed to fight Takam and Spong. They fell through. He ended up fighting Chaz Witherspoon. Fort Chisora had a fight which, it was kind of rough, but people who say that Chisora won that fight or it should have been a draw, nonsense. That was a firm Alexander Usyk victory. It looked rough, yes, but it was actually a fairly straightforward fight in terms of Usyk outskilled, outlanded, and actually hurt on a couple of occasions. Derek Chisora goes in against Joshua twice. First time in Tottenham, which is a stone's throw away from where, yeah, Joshua doesn't live there, but he's got connections there. He's familiar with that part of the world. He's fought there before. He's done adverts there, goes on holiday there, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Mike, I agree. Usyk's form, I think that warrants giving him the benefit of the doubt. Because also as well, um, the a training camp leading up to August had the fight itself, which yeah, he won convincingly, but it was still, they had some rough moments in there, and your body's just gone for a training camp, just had to absorb punishment from a massive 6'6" man, 240 pounds who can punch. I don't blame him for wanting to see out the year and then return in early 2023. I don't have a problem with that. So yeah, is what it is. I can't hold it against Usyk. Pudding Jim 8. I think this third fight will absolutely bomb. There's been a big public backlash. Joyce would have been a very intriguing fight. Yeah, I agree. There is a lot of backlash. There's hell of a lot. And that's why I tend to, I'm not going to predict it, but I sense that this fight may be canned. Maybe not straight away. Maybe they'll play chicken. They'll see how the fight does until, I don't know, 4 weeks out, something like that. And if it hasn't done particularly well in terms of ticket sales and pay-per-view sales, I think they'll scrap it. Tyson Fury is no stranger to sustaining injuries in camp, quote unquote, to have a fight undone. But let's see. Watch this space. Chris V, what are your thoughts on Jared Anderson facing Jerry Forrest? I think Jared is going to shake up the division in 3 years. I like that fight. Yeah, I like that fight. Jerry Forrest, he's one of those guys where he's better than advertised. And I think Jared Anderson is very much in need of some step ups now. And I think this is the perfect kind of fight you want to see him in, because it's not like Jared Anderson's bitten off more than he can chew, but he's not just going to be able to walk through Forrest. But if he does walk through Forrest, it shows that, okay, Jared Anderson has some substance because he's very athletic. He's got a lot of talent. I'm not sure from a technique point of view. I think technically he's a little bit rough around the edges just because he's young. He's young in his career. But I like the fight personally. I'll be keeping an eye on that one. I don't expect Forrest to win, but I expect him to put up a good, brave effort and potentially ask some questions of Anderson. And in regards to whether I think he will shake up the division in 3 years, it all comes down to what the division will be like in 3 years. I think in 3 years' time, it's fairly likely that Fury would be retired, Joshua will be on his way out, White will probably be retired by then. You'll have to imagine that guys like Dubois, they'll be the ones, I guess, at the top of the tree. And for my money, from a stylistic point of view, Jared Anderson beats someone like Dubois. Dubois, as Felix said, for me, he's just too basic. Yeah, he's very strong and he's powerful, but very few heavyweights these days at above a certain level aren't strong and powerful. So how far is Dubois hoping to get on that? Because he is basic. He is very basic. He is as straight up and down as it comes. And I'm not entirely sure I've seen much development from him since he lost to Joe Joyce. So it will be interesting to see when he goes in against someone who can actually stand up to him. TMT. I'm not high on Dubois either. Yeah, I don't see it. I never have, to be honest, because I remember seeing Dubois in against like his early fights against Journeyman and stuff, and he just looked so slow. Like, yeah, he's got a degree of composure and he's quite balanced, but he had a very amateurish style, and he just looked like he was in treacle. He was unbelievably slow. And you know it's really not a good look when a guy is in against journeymen who are deconditioned and fighting every other weekend to keep the lights on. When you're looking slow against those guys, it was ugh, not a good look. But he's still learning. Dubois is young. He's got a long way to go. So um, maybe he can develop and evolve. Pound for Pound says he won £1,100 on Joyce beating Dubois was easy money. Yeah, um, I couldn't really see Dubois winning that fight, and obviously you guys have to take my word for it because I didn't have my channel then. I didn't make. I was actually what was it? It's like 5 months before I made my channel because that was in November 2020. Oh yeah, it's crazy when you think about it. Yeah, I thought that was always going to be a straightforward fight for Joyce. And if Mr. Samuel Gaylor, I'm not sure if he's still in the chat, but he can vouch for me because I kept telling him that Joyce was going to win. Dubois KO's White. That's a 50-50 in my eyes. I can see how Dubois KO's White, but I don't know. White, mate, well, if he still has that left hook, and Dubois tries to come in as straight up as he does, he might get taken to the cleaners by White. But that's certainly a fight I'd want to see. Devon Sinclair been big on Joyce since day one. Picked him to beat Dubois too. Yeah, straightforward. Seems like you, me, and pound for pound, we saw it coming. But yeah, I'm the same. I've always really liked Joyce. As soon as he turned pro, I was like, I like this guy's style because he's heavy-handed and he can get stuck in. But Joe Joyce has underrated skills. People don't give him full credit for his skill. Pound for pound boxing, Joyce is the top 5 for me. Yeah, I agree. He's definitely, if he's not in the top 5, he's not far from it. Well, Fury was signed to a rematch. Signed to rematch Vlad, but he's retired and got fat, got a little sad, and came out with his depression story to sell a few books. Right? Yeah, of course. I get that. Because that didn't. I know the first Klitschko Fury fight got delayed once. The second fight got delayed twice. And I think it just got to a point where they gave up. So I get, okay, fair enough. Yeah, contractually, I suppose he does owe Vlad a rematch. But to be fair, I wouldn't see a second fight being any different. Maybe Vlad could start a little bit sooner, but I wouldn't bank on it. Well, the Fury that beat Vlad was much lighter and fresh. Excuse me. I'm back. He can never return to that style. Much heavier now, less disciplined, and so he is fighting chinny people now with his Kronk style. Yeah, see, I asked that question not long ago. Actually, I think it was in the lead up to the White fight because there was that clip of Fury, and he looked he looked out of shape, and I was asking the question: are we starting to see Fury's lifestyle outside the ring catch up with him? Because I 100% agree. I don't think he can fight. I think he fights the way he does now because that's the only way he can really fight effectively. And now Fury's always going to have that slickness. He's always going to be able to fight off the back foot. But the way he fought against Vlad, Fury in that fight, looked so light but strong and agile and coordinated, whereas now he just looks like a fat mess. But he still looks good coming forward. Um, so yeah, and I remember people were jumping me on me in that fight, in that video, because they were saying, "Oh, Tyson Fury, he just needs to get through the camp." Like, hold on, people. I'm just going to plug my laptop in because the old battery's running out. Just bear with me a second. Hold that thought. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Um, yeah, like, I don't think you get a lot of normies in boxing, people who they've never laced up a pair of gloves in their life and they don't even understand boxing. They just watch it. Look, it's fair enough. If you don't want to box and you just want to watch it, go for it. But to make certain statements is just a bit silly. And one of the statements that I see get made a lot is when you make videos and you report on a fighter who's been seen outside of fight camp and they're looking out of shape. And then you get people who say, oh, he'll be fine because he hasn't gone into camp yet. He just needs another, he have an 8-week camp and he'll be ripped and shredded and stuff. It's not that simple. And yes, that fighter may go through an 8-week camp, arrive on fight night and be absolutely shredded and look like they're in peak condition. But these people don't understand how much it can take out of a fighter to do that in comparison to, I don't know, fighter B who's in shape all year round or in decent shape all year round and just has to get fight sharp. It's a big difference. And people, I think it's partly wishful thinking coupled with ignorance because they hope that Fury's uh, lack of discipline outside the ring doesn't catch up to him and he doesn't have to face the consequences of it. And now he may go through his career and never face the consequences of it, but I think eventually, just based on what I've seen watching boxing over the years and what I've seen in life experiences, it'll catch up. It'll catch up one day when Fury can't. I mean, I think we've already seen it, to be honest. Because as Devon, as you say, look at the Fury who fought Vlad 7 years ago. He looks like a completely different man to the guy today. The Fury we have today, Hatman said it best in one of his videos. He said he was talking about the difference in physique between Joe Joyce and Tyson Fury, and he said Tyson Fury looks like 270 pounds of chewed bubble gum, and it's 100% true. The Tyson Fury we have today looks like the monster that ate Tyson Fury of 2015. They're completely different, and I think that's from the abuse of uh, Tyson Fury's antics and activities outside the ring. Uh, Fury can't walk down people who can actually box and punch. I doubt Fury could walk down Joshua or Hrgovic, walk down either of them or cut off the ring on a mover like Usyk and Hunter at his current weight and style. Well, yeah, I agree. I'm not sure if he could. Maybe he can, maybe he can't. But because there's ambiguity there, we need to see these fights. As I say so many times, you have these Fury fanboys, and you get fanboys of all fighters who say this, but it's particularly Fury fanboys because they seem to be the most prominent fanboys you get these days. Say, oh, Fury would beat him, so he doesn't have to fight him, or Fury beat this guy, and this guy's better than this other guy, so he doesn't have to beat the other guy. No, 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 no. It doesn't work like that. Two guys get in the ring, they fight, and you find out. You don't just say, oh, he hasn't got to fight him because he beat him anyway. BS. If you say that, you're a fanboy. And I agree. I don't think Fury can address or approach a Joshua fight the same way as he does a Wilder fight because they're different fighters. Joshua and Wilder are nothing alike. Deontay Wilder is an extremely explosive, uh, one-handed puncher, whereas Joshua, yeah, a little less explosive, but he's still a puncher in his own right, and he can punch with both hands, and he can use a variety of shots. I think he's also better defensively, not by much, but he's more coordinated. Um, from a technical point of view, Joshua is superior to Wilder. So that it's a different set of challenges to overcome. Same with Hergovich. Same with Usyk and Michael Hunter. When was the last time Fury fought anyone like Usyk and Michael Hunter? And now those four fighters you listed, Fury might beat all of them. I don't think he does, but he might. But you know how we find out? The fights get made, they get in the ring, they fight. But I'm preaching to the choir right now, but I just got to get that off my chest because it always winds me up. Falafel Man, Fury is ducking Usyk. Facts. What makes you say that? What makes you say that? You know, I'm not saying that hypothetically. I want you to actually state your reasons for it because I'll be interested to hear them. Alexander Randall, Fury knew it was unlikely Usyk was going to take the fight in December. Not saying it's a duck, but the tune-up fight was always wanted by Team Fury, in my opinion. Well, Fury, I'm pretty sure he actually came out and said that he wanted a tune-up fight. So I think that's public knowledge. So, and yeah, you know what Tyson Fury's like. It was I agree. I always thought it would be unlikely that Usyk would go from an end of August fight with Joshua into an early December fight against Fury. If he did, massive credit to him. Even more credit than Usyk has earned already in his career. But it was never going to be likely. Never going to be likely. We've got Chris Andre in the house. Yes, Chris. I hope you're good, brother. And hope you can stay with us for a bit. I know you're a busy man. What's happening, everyone? I get Fury not taking on a killer before, got to be careful with that word, the algorithm, before Undisputed. But I wanted to see some sort of intrigue, some element of the unknown. I preferred Kabayel personally. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Chris. I mean, I think the Kabayel fight, that could have been a stinker. But I 100% get what you're saying. We were talking earlier about how someone like Michael Hunter would have been the perfect step in because from an entertainment perspective, because Michael Hunter's a good fighter. Stylistically, he actually resembles what's going to be better preparation? Fighting Fury fighting Michael Hunter in preparation for Usyk, or Fury fighting Derek Chisora in preparation for Usyk? It's obviously going to be Michael Hunter. And now he doesn't fight exactly like Usyk, but he's a small target. He moves. He's got good shot selection. He's agile, that kind of stuff. Got good skills. And of course, from a, potentially Michael Hunter, Michael Hunter isn't known in the UK as well as Derek Chisora is. I think that's a given. Derek Chisora has a massive casual fan base. But it doesn't even look like the casuals are happy with this fight. So if they aren't happy with this fight, there's not really any excuse for it. And at least with Michael Hunter, not to say that this is a massive selling point, but you can say, he was going to fight Tyson Fury's cousin, but Fury had to pull out. And so Tyson's looking for an opponent. Michael Hunter's looking for an opponent. They get in the ring with each other. Michael Hunter would be able to be this brash American who can say, look, I've already tried to get in the ring with one Fury and he ducked me because XYZ reason. So I'm going to take on the big Fury, the big dog, the champion. I'm going to take him on in the UK. Like that can be sold, maybe not a stadium filler, but that's still a relatively big fight. Big disappointment though. Not that it was really a surprise. Chris V, I think Top Rank is going to take over boxing by 2023. Their stable of fighters is insane. They've got great lightweights and welterweights, but they've been experimenting with heavyweights this year. Yeah, Top Rank, I never used to really like Top Rank. I don't know why. Like the stable always just seemed a bit dry, but I agree. Recent years, Top Rank has got some very good fighters. I mean, when you've got fighters like Lomachenko and obviously Terence Crawford before, Terence Crawford seems to be in limbo. Those are two of the best fighters in the sport. And so to have both of those under one promotional banner, that is, that's good going. That is certainly good going. So yeah, I agree. Top Rank, in boxing in general now, it's a very level playing field. You have Top Rank, you have BT, you've got Matchroom, which is kind of taking some hits recently. PBC's doing okay, but there's no monolithic promotional outfit. There's a selection, and it can be very expensive, you know, if you're paying for pay-per-views and stuff. But at least it's at least there's choice, I suppose. G-Man in the house, yes. Okay, we got some characters here. Got Chris, we got G-Man. It's good to have you here, boys. Hope you're enjoying the live stream. I think Chris says he's driving and listening. Okay, well, Chris, you know, drive safe. I know you've probably just had a couple pints, maybe some shots, and now you're driving. Obviously, I'm joking, people. Chris Andre does not drink and drive. He's probably um, he's probably the most mature uh, member of the Boxing Brotherhood. I'm talking rubbish. But yeah, it's good to have you here, guys. Iron Fist. Good to have you here, my friend. It's been a while. Fury carries the weight, 270 pounds, better than Joyce. Noticeably faster, more nimble overall. However, Joyce is not an easy opponent. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. If you look at Joyce 270 compared to Fury 270, Joyce looks much better aesthetically. But yes, he isn't the natural smooth mover like Fury. But I think Fury is 270 now because he's wrecked his body's hormonal profile and can only shift so much weight. Whereas Fury, he's, I guess the natural Fury weight would be 20 pounds lighter, probably like 250 maybe, something like that. But yeah, Fury, I mean, it's a testament to Fury's natural ability because he's 270 and he's got this, you know, a grotesque physique. I'll say that, but he's still a super effective fighter, and he moves well, and he's got good stamina, good powers of recovery, good energy levels. Still at that state, but yeah, Joyce, he's by his standards, I want to say he's a bit more effective at that weight, whereas Fury is still effective, but not by Fury standards, if that makes sense, relative to their prior form. Byron Newton, yes, good to have you here, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Oh, Chris talking to Chris is talking to Chris. Iron Fist, Michael Hunter would be a high risk fight to take before Usyk, but for sure it would be interesting stylistically. Well, as far as I'm concerned, I 100% agree. Michael Hunter would be a high risk fight to take before Usyk, but when you are a world champion heavyweight who refers to themselves as the Gypsy King, who claims that they are one of the best to ever do it, as far as I'm concerned, you have an obligation to take high risk fights. It is your duty to do so. And therefore, Tyson Fury is just that. And he should do just that. But of course, you know, they're looking at it from a managerial perspective, which I get. Don't agree with it, but I get it. Hunter too big a risk, stylistically very hard for Fury, I believe. I agree it's great, but I just can't envisage it now. Yeah, exactly. Obviously, when I'm saying that, I'm obviously in the same boat as you guys. I want a better fight, so I am obviously trying to justify it. But yeah, I agree. It wouldn't be realistic. Devin Sinclair, Tyson Fury will beat Vlad. The Tyson Fury that beat Vlad would school the Fury who beat Wilder or White. What made Fury special was his ability to move and be awkward for his size. To beat Usyk, I think he needs something in between. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Fury, he needs to be able to marry that. He needs to be able to marry the boxing skill, the slickness, and the aggression. You know, you can't just walk down someone like Alexander Usyk, but at the same time, you can't stand off. Because yeah, Fury's a big guy. You know, 6 foot, I know he's listed at 6'9". Fury's not 6'9". He's like 6'8" maybe. And if not that you guys are going to doubt it because you're all level-headed, but if anyone who watches this doubts that Fury's not 6'9", look at his pictures. Look at all of his pictures and look at his feet. Yeah, I don't see Fury just being able to walk down Alexander Usyk because, as Hatman's pointed out, when they're in the ring together, just like when Joshua was in the ring with Usyk, Joshua looks slow and clunky against Usyk. Now, Joshua's not a slow heavyweight. He's actually quite explosive. But Usyk is just obviously coming up from cruiserweight, but he's not just any old cruiserweight. Alexander Usyk is an elite technical boxer and an elite mover, even by cruiserweight standards. So that puts it into perspective when he goes up against these big heavyweights. Sometimes being smaller is an advantage if you know how to use it. And I mean, that really goes for anything. I don't really think there are certain, you get advantages, you get disadvantages, but you can turn disadvantages into advantages if you use them the right way. And in that same token, advantages can be completely useless if you don't know how to apply them. There's some big brain stuff for you there, boys. Some real giga brain philosophy. Iron Fist, good evening, by the way. Good evening to you, my friend. A long time subscriber of the channel. Always good to have you here. Chris Andre says he's practically teetotal. Yes. We got to make you, me, and the rest of the guys, we got to make teetotalism cool. Teetotal is the way forward. Who needs intoxicants when you can be high on life? Devon Sinclair, the 2015 Fury was good against other big stationary punchers like Vlad or Wilder, but he would still be too small and not skilled enough to match Usyk. That Fury styles-wise is easier for Usyk to beat. I'm not sure about that. No, because at least the 2015 Fury, if he was getting frustrated, at least he could move. He could at least nullify some of what Usyk does or would try to do. So, I mean, these hypothetical mashups, they're always going to tie your brain in knots to some degree. But the 2015 Fury, I think, alongside the Fury from the second Wilder fight, that's his best form. That's his best form. And I'd actually maybe I'd favor the Fury from the second Wilder fight because that was a good version of Fury. Still beatable with the right style, but he looked good. He had a good balance of skill, defense, aggression, power. That was a good version. Damn, Devon is just peppering the chat right now. Fury's best chance to beat Usyk would be to come in the type of shape he was against Vlad with the style he beat Wilder, in my opinion. Okay, yeah, okay. I get what you're saying. X Dark Dawn X7. What a name. Fury versus Joyce. Count me in. A great fight. Joyce proved many times wrong, and it would be great clash of styles. Yeah, I'd probably pick Fury to win, but it would be a good fight. I think Joyce would get stuck in, and he could potentially make it very rough for Fury. Yeah, good fight. Very good fight indeed. Chris V, I like Mike Hunter. He's really underrated for what he offers to the division. I'd love to see him face Jared or Fury. Yeah. Hunter's one of those guys who, I mean, you can make so many good fights heavyweight, but Hunter, especially against the really big guys like Joshua, Wilder, Fury, I think he'd shine in those fights. Might not always win, but after his performance, you'd think, you know what? Hunter's the real deal. He might not ever be a champion, but he's someone who's always going to give you a tough fight. I suspect that Hunter struggles when he fights someone who's the same size as him. He has a harder time. He might still win, but he looks better against bigger guys, which kind of turns on the head about, size being everything kind of deal. Bigger is better and whatnot. Just my opinion. Devin Sinclair, outmatch. Do you see Gassiev having any success at heavyweight? I would love to see Gassiev versus White or Gassiev versus Mike Hunter at heavyweight. No, just being honest, I don't really see Gassiev having that much success at heavyweight. I just, from a stylistic point of view, I don't see it. I think maybe against some of the smaller heavyweights who are like contenders, maybe, but Gassiev, nah, I just don't see it. And funny bit of trivia, just because you mentioned Gassiev. Years ago, probably like 5 years ago or something, and this is really random. Mrs. Outmatch uploaded a picture of myself and her onto her Instagram, and I don't know why, but something just possessed me one day to check the likes, and guess who was there? Murat Gassiev, and this is when he was unified champion. It was just the most random thing. Imagine me, like a picture of me and my missus, and Murat Gassiev likes it on Instagram. It's crazy, but yeah, a little bit of trivia there. So there you go. Story time. X Dark Dawn X7. Usyk is a very special boxer with exceptional footwork and speed. I give him a good chance against Fury. I agree. Wholeheartedly. I think Usyk is a generational fighter. Not just in terms of achievement, but in terms of talent and skill and athleticism. An amazing fighter. Absolutely amazing. Is he unbeatable? No, no fighter is. But is he a real generational type talent? Absolutely. And yes, I agree. I give him a good chance against Fury as well. I'm still on the fence about that fight. I'm going to hold out on my prediction until that fight is close to being made, because I'll just change my mind so many times in the lead up. Cloud Strife says Fury beats everyone. I mean, if you believe that, fair enough. I can't say that I agree. I think Fury will, or there are guys who can beat Fury if they got in the ring with him. Do you think Wilder would knock Joyce out? He seems to have the most power of anyone. Yeah, I think Wilder has more than enough power to knock Joyce out. Joyce is someone who I rate highly. I do think he has a legit chin, but I think Wilder has the kind of power that you can't afford to bank on your punch resistance against. And stylistically, Joyce is open, but then maybe he'd address the fight cautiously, where he's always constantly wary of the right hand, looking to roll with it, nullify it, block it. But an amazing fight. I'd pay good money to watch that fight. Yeah, definitely. It was so random. It was so random. I mean, I took it as a compliment, because it's just me and Mrs. Outmatch just taking a couple's picture together. But yeah, it must have brought a tear to his eye. Iron Fist. I agree. Joshua has always been that well-coordinated, balanced, super heavyweight, good speed. It was surprising how at times he looked lethargic against Usyk. Yeah, exactly. Joshua, Joshua can be a little bit mechanical, especially earlier on in his career, but he's very explosive, very good balance, very coordinated. And Joshua has some of the best punch technique in the heavyweight division. For a big guy at 6'6", with the reach that he has, the way he can tighten up his shots really is impressive. Really is impressive. And I don't think he ever got credit for that, because if you look at Joshua, a lot of his stoppages have come from when he's fought up close on the inside, up close against guys who are shorter than him. Look at the finish against Dylan White, the short and the sharp, concise technique on that uppercut. I know it wasn't his best performance, but against Takam, he beat Takam on the inside using cash and counter left hooks, really tight. Joshua, I know it's kind of popular to hate on Joshua, and I just don't see it. Joshua, yes, he has limitations, but he has some formidable strengths, especially up close. And you can see he's someone who, I mean, by his own admission, he looked up to Mike Tyson growing up and as a young amateur and an early young professional. And you can see that he drilled and drilled and drilled his short hook in and uppercut technique, and it paid off because he can shred you up close. Joshua's a good short range and mid range fighter. It's just his defense which is lacking. Um, but maybe he can address that. We'll see. Devon says Prime Vitali versus Tyson Fury. Vitali had two styles like Fury. Pre-retirement, he was throwing heavy shots and was more offensive, whereas the one that fought Sammy Peter was more of a boxer mover with less power. That's a tough fight. I don't know. I actually don't know. I'd be willing to bet a good sum of money that Vitali does much better than Vlad. Would I go as far as saying Vitali beats Fury? It depends. It depends. One day I'll say yes, another day I'll say no. I think that's a tough fight. I think that would be a close fight where it probably goes to points, maybe in like a real battle, and whoever wins doesn't win by much. That'd be a wicked fight, though. Iron Fist. Every body type has its pros and cons. At heavyweight, I have noticed the smaller fighters had more success. Has success more often than in the lower divisions. At heavyweight boxing, I've noticed the smaller fighters. Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like if you are okay, you're at a disadvantage. I'm the smaller guy in the ring, but rather than say, "Oh, woe is me," I can't overcome this massive opponent. No, think I'm a smaller guy. What does this smaller stature, this smaller size, what opportunities does it afford me? I mean, firstly, you're probably going to have better balance, better coordination, better energy, better work rate. You're a smaller target. Okay, so you now have a smaller target who moves quicker and moves more. You can turn that into a strength. Yes, it's going to be more costly when you're in against a big guy and he lands on you. But I mean, at the end of the day, boxing is about hitting, not getting hit. So you don't get hit. That's my simplification. That's your advice from this live stream. All of you guys pursue boxing, and we're all going to make it because we just won't get hit. Gosh, yeah, oversimplification to the max. But yeah, size it can work both ways, definitely. And yeah, most likely at heavyweight, because if you're a smaller guy, you can end up going in the ring with someone who's massively bigger than you. Whereas at lighter weights, obviously, you have weight limits, so it's more difficult unless a guy is boiling down to fit into the weight class. But then that comes with its own drawbacks as well. All right, Jordan Johnson. Good to have you here, my friend. Jordan says, "What's up? Love the channel, bro. Hope you're well. Would love more film breakdowns when I can." Well, firstly, thank you for tuning in and thank you for the kind words. I'm glad that you like the channel and I'm very well. Hope you're having a good week yourself, my friend. The breakdowns are tricky because they have to be done in a way where I can circumvent the algorithm, because when you upload videos, the videos go through a checking stage where it checks for copyrighted content, it checks your ad suitability, that kind of stuff. But the thing is, especially in regards to the copyright, it's not final. There's not one verdict. So I could upload something, a film study on whatever fight, and it would be, I'd get the green light, I can upload it, no restrictions. But then all of a sudden, a few months down the line, there's a copyright claim on it, or maybe a warning. So I'm a little bit kind of on trying to be on the safe side. That being said, it really depends. Like, it's such a gamble, but I'd be open to doing more. But you have to. I'd like to take recommendations and requests. Here and there, I'll put out a little something like, "Oh, I thought this was really cool," or maybe a tribute to a fighter in terms of, look at this sequence. something like that. But look, Jordan, I'm open to requests, but just bear in mind that I can only do so much because I'm not trying to get any copyright strikes or anything. But look, send me some requests, anything you maybe want me to have a look at, I'll do my best. And worst case scenario, I could just maybe start something else on another platform, Patreon or something like that, something where the copyright is a little bit more lax. Um, but yeah, we can get to that. There'll definitely be more. I'm just not sure how frequent. Devon says, but more defensively sound and a better counterpuncher. Um, oh, you're talking about Prime Vitali when he fought Peter. Yeah, I mean, it shows a good deal of versatility, to be fair. Iron Fist, spot on. AJ has great punch technique and placement. Yeah, exactly. Doesn't get credit for it, in my opinion. I watched both AJ Usyk fights, and in my opinion, they were a lot closer than people were saying. Everyone was saying AJ needed a bit more, needs to be a bit more accurate with his jabs and more aggressive, and could have won both. I mean, it'll be interesting to hear how you had your scorecards for both fights. Personally, the first fight was comprehensive. I don't want to go as far as saying it was one-sided. It was in spots, but Joshua, I always gave credit to Joshua in the first fight because I could see just by his movements, just what he was doing, that he knew what he had to do, but he didn't have the experience and the practice to process it quick enough. In the second fight, he tried to make changes, but still was just too gun shy. Just couldn't leave it all in the ring. The second fight was closer. It was rougher, and Usyk had to absorb a lot more punishment. But I still think, I mean, Usyk won hands down. Were they easy? No, but definitely. I think it depends. I haven't really come across people who say that they were one-sided beatdowns. They were just clear Usyk victories. Devin Sinclair, I know it's a random fight, but I'd love to see Joe Joyce versus Nikolai Valuev. Both slow and solid chins, both come forward slugging. Also Valuev versus Zhang. Damn, you want to see Valuev turned into a human heavy bag, don't you? Valuev, I'm sorry, like Devin, Joyce would ruin Valuev. Valuev's this enormous target. He's an actual cave troll. No, I don't even think, even Zhang, I think Zhang would light him up. Just my opinion, though. Okay, Iron Fist got checkout. So good to have you here, Iron Fist. I hope you have a good evening and a good weekend. It's good to chat to you as always, my friend. Devon says, do you think a prime Floyd could survive 12 rounds against Wilder in a boxing match? I'm not saying win, but like you said, being small could be an advantage. Could he survive against guys like Fury? No, I don't think so. I think it just gets to a point where when you have such a massive size advantage, you can really just afford to get away with liberties and bully your opponent. And yeah, that would be it. Just becomes so unrealistic. Even though Sigmund Freud, yeah, even though Floyd was just a supreme technician and a generational fighter. It's just size. It gets to a point where the size gap is just too big. Devin Sinclair, always wondered, not win, but I can see a guy like as skilled as Floyd survive 12 rounds. He could see those punches in slow motion from the big guys, maybe. But see, it gets to a point where even if you block a shot or you miss it, or like you roll with it, it'll still send you flying. Like I don't think people have much experience when it comes to heavyweights. Like I've held the pads for a couple of big guys, and the power is unlike anything. Like there was one guy who maybe he'll watch this because I know he watches the channel, and me and him we did some training. Like I gave him a couple of sessions where I took him on the pads and stuff, and he just wanted some guidance. And he's a heavyweight, and his punching power was unreal. Now, look, he was significantly bigger than me. I'm not a massive guy. I'm not small, but I'm not heavyweight. Um, but the punch would actually send me flying. You know that video of George Foreman laying into the bag, and his trainer's holding the bag. It was like he's the guy in his corner, is holding the bag, and the bag's sending him flying. It was almost like that. I couldn't stand still and just absorb the shot. It would spin me around. So imagine someone like Floyd, who's considerably smaller than me, going in against someone like Wilder or Fury, who's considerably bigger than the guy who I was holding pads for. A recipe for disaster. Chris V, outmatched. How do you think Bukoli would fare with Fury and Usyk? I think Bukoli would do fairly well against Fury. I wouldn't pick him to win, but I think he'd put up a good effort. Against Usyk, I'm not sure. I don't think if Bukoli fought Usyk, I don't think it'd be as tough a fight for Bukoli as the Hunter fight, but I still wouldn't pick him to win. He'd probably do well in spots, but I don't think he'd win either of those fights. But I think he'd put up a good effort. Gorgaruga. Can Fury replicate the footwork and crazy jabbing he used in the second fight? Or can Chisora force him into more of a brawl this time? Well, I actually see Fury probably approaching this fight similar to how he did the Dylan White fight, where he's kind of conservative, maybe just looks to line up a couple of shots and really do some damage on Chisora. Yeah, I think it'd go down something like that. I don't think he's going to brawl with Chisora. That's assuming the fight even goes ahead. It could get scrapped at the last minute. But yeah, Fury, I suspect. I'm trying to remember how the second fight went, because Fury, maybe he just does it like that, because he wasn't really like sitting down on his punches against Chisora in the second fight, but he was consistent and just battered Chisora. By the end of that fight, Chisora looked like he'd been stung by bees because his face was just swollen up. So, yeah, Fury, I don't think he's going to get engaged. He'll probably look to do some showboating, move around, and just line up a big shot, maybe. But yeah, something like that. Jordan says, I understand you about the film point. Don't want you to lose your channel. I'd suggest maybe one focused on control, maybe including Mayweather. That's good. Yeah, I reckon I could do something like that. But yeah, I'll work something out. I'll figure something out. And that's a good topic, actually. Control is so important in boxing. Such an important technique. Yeah, I'll Jordan, watch this space. Watch this space. I'm on it. Cloud says AJ Usyk won. I had it 8-4 to Usyk. Second fight I had it 7-5 to Usyk. I do agree with you that AJ should have gone out on his shield. He didn't want to get stopped. Yeah, I think with AJ there was just like to be fair, your scorecards. I can't really disagree. The first time I watched the rematch, I had it 7-5, just like you. But then I watched it again a couple of days afterwards. I was like, you know what? I think Usyk actually did get a few more rounds, just because I was able to slow it down, see which punches landed cleanly, that kind of stuff. And I ended up having Joshua only winning like 3 rounds, something like that. So only 2 less than what I initially had. The first fight, I actually had it 10-2. So, plus or minus 2 rounds. But your scorecards, I don't have an issue with them. They were pretty like, it's always like, it's tough because when you're watching it in real time, and that's what's so good about YouTube and watching fights back, is you can not only slow down the speed, but you can go, bit by bit by bit. But yeah, your scorecards. Your scorecards are what I had the first time round watching both of those fights. But then watching them back a second time, I'd give Usyk an extra couple of rounds just because I really look closer. Yeah, in that second fight though, Joshua he wanted. It's like you could see that he knew he had to just leave it all in the ring, but he just couldn't. He just couldn't let the trigger go. And I think it's just because he didn't have confidence. When you've been in Joshua's shoes, where so many times you've gassed in fights, because Joshua, I said in the lead up to that fight, no way is Joshua lighter than he was for the Ruiz rematch. I just didn't see it. And then lo and behold, he came in heavier. And I think he knew that if he lay it all out, I mean, in the 10th round, he looked like he was gone. He was dog tired, and Usyk was starting to light him up. He had more success, but it still wasn't enough. And it's not just all on Joshua. Usyk is a supreme fighter, so it's easier said than done. Mr. Relax, Chisora to win on points, going to be high odds. Yeah, that'd be interesting. What would the odds be? Surely like, I don't know, 10 to 1, 12 to 1, something like that. Especially Chisora to win on points. I mean, if we look at it from a percentage point of view, what percent chance would you get, or would you give Chisora of winning the fight? I think it'd be generous to give him 20%, to be honest. At this stage. Yeah. Chris, Wilder versus Joyce. Good fight. Good fight. I may have to go with Wilder. And Joyce, I like Joyce. I've been high on Joyce since he turned pro, but stylistically, I just think Wilder's probably a bad matchup for him. But I can see how both guys. I can see how Joyce wins. I can see how Wilder wins, but I think I just have to go for Wilder, to be honest. Yeah, because Joyce has got good chin. Gets hit a bit, but would he be a bit more defensively responsible against Wilder? I suspect he would, but even then, yeah, I think I have to go for Wilder. Go with Wilder on that one. Wilder versus Joyce, Ruiz versus Gassiev, White versus Parker 2, Arslanbek versus Zhang, Hunter versus Chisora. Let's go. Yeah, let's go. I'm happy with all of those. And then you can even change some of those fights around and still get good ones. That's the beauty of the heavyweight division right now. It's like mix and match. Take what you want and you get a good result a lot of the time. You get a good fight, at least on paper. Obviously, some of these fights, like White against Wilder, maybe not. There are some fights that could potentially just be a car crash. Yeah. But yeah, the fights you listed here, Chris, I like them all. That's why I never get when people say, "Oh, boxing's dead," especially heavyweight boxing. All these heavyweights, they suck. They're boring. They're this, they're that. I have no idea what these people are talking about. So many unique, talented fighters in the division. So many good fights to be made. People who don't see that, it's probably because they don't want to see that. But hey, we're going to enjoy it. Bivol versus Beterbiev. We need to push for this fight. Yeah. This. I mean, I think it's because both guys are tied up. Bivol's fighting Ramirez. Beterbiev's out injury, but when he comes back, he's going to be fighting Yard. Two very good fights, mind you. Who knows? We may end up seeing Gilberto Ramirez versus Anthony Yard for the undisputed. I doubt it, but two very good fighters in their own right. But yeah, it's definitely a fight that needs to be pushed more because it's undisputed. Most important fight there is. Cloud says, I've been watching back all Wilder's fights, and you have to say that they are exciting. I would love to know what your prediction for Usyk versus Wilder would be. Um, just going off the top of my head, I'd have to guess that Usyk probably wins on points. He'd be walking a tightrope though, but I think he'd probably be able to get done. Um, and yes, I agree. Wilder's fights are exciting. Wilder in general is an exciting fighter. That's why I was excited that he didn't call it a day. And then there were people in my videos on the comment section saying, "Oh, Wilder's junk, like he's trash, and he needs to retire because he's never going to do anything boxing." I just think this guy is an enormous puncher with a massive heart, and he lays it out on the line every single time. What more can you want other than to see him in with the best? So yeah, I agree. Wilder definitely one of the most exciting fighters out there. Gorga Ruga, what would be your keys to victory? What would your keys to victory be for Chisora, if any? Oh man, you guys are asking the tough questions. Well, I think it really goes without saying that Chisora is not going to be able to stand at long range against against Fury. So he's going to need to get stuck in. He's going to need to get Fury against the ropes, which isn't that difficult, mind you. Fury does, when he's not fighting Deontay Wilder, when he's in against White, when he's in against these other fighters, he can often be on the ropes for a fair bit. And so with Chisora, typically when he gets fighters up against the ropes, he wings in these big shots. I think against Fury, he'd just have to be a bit more cultured because he's slippery, but at the end of the day, Fury's just reacting to what you do. And so you're going to have to use a bit of misdirection, use some lighter shots, get Fury to get into a position where maybe his offense is a bit limited in terms of, duck into one side. Don't be afraid to get physical with Fury because, yeah, Fury's the bigger man. But if you force Fury into a compromised position, he's only going to have so much strength. And then from there, Chisora then he can wail away. Then he can go to the body and try and soften Fury up. But yeah, that's if he can get Fury up close on the ropes, which I don't think will be that difficult, but how consistently would he be able to do it? That's the question. Because like Dylan White, Chisora's punch resistance doesn't seem to be in a good place either. But yeah, that would be my my key to victory for Chisora. Get up close, but don't just wail away with big shots. Take your time. Use the softer shots. Work things out. That kind of stuff. Chris asking, Eddie Hearn versus Leonard Ellaby, 12 rounds. Frank special guest referee. Aram Ludabella and Frank Smith as judges. Who you got? Eddie Hearn every single day. All day. Every day of the week. Twice on Sundays. I think the only thing Leonard Ellaby is good for is rubbing oil on Floyd Mayweather's chest. I reckon Eddie Hearn, height, reach, movement, maybe not the biggest puncher, but probably accurate. Can probably get a bit of extension on the right hand. I reckon Ellaby, he talks a good game. He'd be able to sell the fight, but I don't know. Not sure. That facial hair, that really ultra trimmed tight goatee that Ellaby has. I don't know. I think it might be hiding a glass jaw. So yeah, I'll go for Hearn. Late stoppage. Watch this space. Felix, or the winners of Bivol Ramirez, Beterbiev Yard. I don't know why Undisputed doesn't happen as soon as only 2 fights hold the belt. It's tricky, and in an ideal world, these things would happen. These fights would be made, but that's the mandatory. It's as simple as that. And then when you're someone like Beterbiev, who's getting up there in age, been fighting for a long time, you have injuries. So I don't think either fighter's to blame. I think it's just situations. Yeah, I think that's really just it, and it's frustrating. But it makes it all the more sweeter when the fight actually does happen. Mr. Relax. Imagine Wilder's face if he hits Joyce and walks through it like Terminator. Yeah, I think it'd be a repeat of when Fury got up against Wilder in the 12th round of the first fight. Do you remember the screenshot of Wilder's face? Looked like looked like he'd seen a ghost. Felix Wilder versus Frank Sanchez. You know what? May have to go with Frank Sanchez. That he's trouble for a lot of these heavyweights. So maybe like 51-49 in favor of Frank Sanchez. Because yeah, he's a problem. He's a real problem. I haven't seen too much of him, but I've seen enough to think, okay, this guy could be a player at heavyweight. Del Boy's top bloke, but honestly, I don't give him a chance. Yeah, I have to agree. Fury's movement is too good. Combo jabs just pummel you when you get tired. Fury just sniffs it out and killer uppercut to end it. Yeah, as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Fury deals with Chisora the way he did with Dylan White. Yeah, I agree with you, Cloud. Felix Navarrete, Ellaby by robbery from the judges. Well, it depends. If the fight's in Vegas, if it's well, I guess it'll be co-promotion, wouldn't it? Matchroom and TMT. No. Ellaby wouldn't be going points with Hearn. Hearn is, he's got like a Hearn's right hand, I reckon. Sometimes, maybe, if he can land it. Nah, Hearn would bad Ellaby up. Mr. Relax, what I think of Dubois' next fight? To be honest, I can't really comment because I've never heard of the guy who's fighting. So if I was to try and guess, it would be just that. It'd be a guess. Yeah, I really can't say. I'd like to see Dubois out a little bit. Well, I was going to say a little bit more often, but how often does Dubois actually fight? Because he hasn't really been fighting great opposition recently. I think it's definitely time for a step up. Because he all right, this Kevin Lorena character. Trevor Bryan's no good. Not really. Not the version of Trevor Bryan that turned Dubois fought Gusumano. Yeah, not great shakes. Bogdan Dinu before that. Yeah, Dubois needs to be stepped up now. But this Kevin Lerena is South African. 28-1, 14 KOs. Who has he fought? 12 round UD over Marius Wack. 4th round stoppage over Bogdan Dinu. 6 round stoppage over Firat Arslan. 3rd round stoppage over the notorious Sefer Safiri. 12 round unanimous decision against Vasil Dukar. So yeah, I recognize these names, but yeah, I don't really know, to be honest. Yeah, I just have to go for Dubois, but that's out of pure ignorance, is because I don't know who his opponent is. Those US scorecards, though, anything is possible. So many Robbies over these, yeah. And it's not just the US; it's the UK as well. Russia, yeah, all countries have dodgy scorecards. It's not isolated to one particular part of the world. Chris Andre says, if Ellaby hadn't blocked me on Twitter for no reason, I could have done a technical breakdown on him and how to beat Hearn. But since he blocked me, he's not here in the final. Bell versus Hearn. Yeah, that would teach him. Bloody cartoon rocket ship nose Ellaby. That will teach him, the bugger. All right, people. We've been going for an hour and a half. It is 7:30. I'm going to go get some dinner and rest my vocal cords because I've done a fair bit of talking today. But as always, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I hope you have a good week, a good Friday, a good weekend, and I will chat to you all very soon. So take it easy, people, and I'll catch you in the next one. Good night, guys.